about him.
John Kennedy was a bit like that, because we're talking about Kennedy now on the 50th anniversary.
Yeah, it's a big thing. It means you've got enough confidence in yourself and enough sense of swagger to think, I need the public, so I need the press. I mean, the press is the channel to the public.
Lyndon Johnson never got that?
No. I mean, maybe in the early days he did, when he was being treated well, and he liked to think, but after a while, once the press became negative, you know, then the friendship would be broken. That's a very different kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, you mean because of Vietnam, but I thought it even happened earlier because of the Kennedy. You know, Kennedy was so charismatic, and he felt like they loved him more than they'll ever love me, and
it was a
they'll never
mistake
give me a
because
fair
Johnson
shake.
was so interesting that the press would have loved him. In fact, they love him after the fact because nobody is more colorful than he, except maybe my guy Teddy Roosevelt.
You think he's more colorful than Lyndon Johnson? This would be heresy here, my dear. I'm going to tell you before you get off on that.
Okay. Well, I will say I didn't know Teddy Roosevelt when I was 24 years old.
Yes,
I didn't go down
true.
to his ranch. So I suppose Johnson wins in that regard.
Have you written everything you're going to write about that?
I don't know. I feel so strongly still about LBJ. And, you know, I think maybe as I get older, I'd like to think about it not as a 30-year-old when I wrote it, right after knowing him and feeling that sense of friendship, but as an historian so many years later. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you really should. I mean, it just, I don't know if any 24-year-olds ever had such a relationship with the president in terms of how he actually was crazy about you because of your brain and your experience. It was so different
it was
from
my
me.
physical being.
I was hoping you'd say that. I wanted you to lead me into that.
I can't believe I did that.
You just brought me right at it. Oh, I was so lucky. Jack Welch, wait till this moment.
But anyway,
you can't get out now.
I will always be grateful to LBJ. I mean, I think what happened then, I saw him at a vulnerable stage in his life when he needed to talk. And as a result, I developed an empathy for him. And I'd like to think that that empathy is what I've brought to all of these people. I mean, even with Taft, you know, you start off knowing almost nothing about him except that he was fat and he lost the election in 12 and he won the election in 8. And he was a really decent man. I mean, he's not a public leader like Teddy, but I felt a sense of understanding where he was coming from, understanding his wife, who he adored and who has a stroke in the beginning of his presidency. And suddenly I'm feeling so sad for him. And I'd like to think that that experience with LBJ as an historian changed me forever, because it meant I'm not judging these people. I'm trying to make them come to life.
I mean, I could talk volumes about this. I mean, it's such an extraordinary opportunity, and you ought to write that book, and soon. No, I mean, just do it now, because there may be other sources you want to talk to, but it's really the perspective of someone. I mean, to have, with someone as larger than life as Lyndon Johnson, everybody says that.
Right.
To know him at a point in which he's thinking about this life is like unparalleled. I mean, no one else had that access.
It was very special.
Yeah. So what was it about you that he loved so much? I mean, I'm serious now.
Okay.
Other than your physical being. I'm serious.
You know what? I think it was because I listened to him. He told stories. Half of them weren't true. It didn't matter. I listened. I think it's big, right? I mean, I would listen, and I loved it. I mean, I love history, right? He knows I love history, so how could it not be fun to have a 24-year-old who's thinking about history all the time and looking at this guy, and he's telling her stories, and she's saying, yeah, tell me more.
Yeah, exactly. But also, a good listener can make you much more willing to talk, because
I think that's
there is a sense of, you don't want to talk to the wall, you want to talk to somebody who says, it's fascinating. You know, and then ask questions like, and maybe precipitate answers or thoughts that you would not have otherwise if the question hadn't been there.
I think that's right. I mean, now what I find myself doing with any of these other people since then, I talk to them anyway, but they don't talk back to me.
But I mean, I think it was also probably, I mean, he certainly admired this sort of Harvard PhD stuff too, didn't he?
And the anti-war stuff, bizarrely too.
Yeah, in other words, it was like two people who could not be more different.
Right.
Sitting in a room having a conversation about big ideas.
No,
you know, about power,
about
war, about politics, about the country, about change, all of that. I want you to go back today and make a commitment to write this book.